She believes she is the only one who is experiencing behaviors meant to control, manipulate, or demean her. The brave women who have been willing to identify the face of abuse, acknowledging how they were treated by public figures, have opened the door for increasing numbers of women to talk about sexual harassment and abuse in numbers we have never before witnessed. And if this is the public manifestation of abuse, you know women's experiences in private are exponentially more prevalent. We can only hope that the trend toward greater exposure continues until removing the veil that hides abuse in all forms becomes the norm. It's important to keep in mind that abuse is about power. Whether subtle or overt, it's how someone exercises power and control over another. What then makes it so hard to take control back from the abuser? Consider which one of these dynamics may be keeping you in a toxic relationship. Boiling frog syndrome. If you drop a frog into a pot of boiling water, it will jump out. But if you put a frog in a pot of cool water and gradually turn up the heat, it won't recognize the temperature change and will ultimately die. A relationship can be like that too. It may start out great, but over time become toxic. And you don't realize how toxic it really is because the increase in abuse happens so gradually. The repetition compulsion. Sigmund Freud said that human beings have the tendency to repeat past behaviors over and over because they are known and familiar. If you grew up in a home where abuse was commonplace, you may think that this is the norm, just how life is. You actually cannot see that there is another way to live because you haven't experienced a healthy relationship. Or you may have been in a healthy relationship and it didn't feel quite right to you, so you returned to one that was less healthy. As one young woman told me, "I just like bad boys." Respect for authority. Most of us grew up learning that we had to show respect for people in positions of authority. In part, this was one way Catholic priests were able to hide sexual abuse that took place for decades. They were in positions of authority, and young men and women were afraid to speak out. The same holds true with parents who verbally abuse their adult children, bosses who abuse subordinates, and teachers who abuse students. When power is unequal, there is a situation ripe for abuse. Sunken cost dilemma. Consider a time when you may have bought a used car. Soon after the purchase, it needed new tires, so you bought those. Then the ignition switch went out and it had to be replaced. After that, the radiator started leaking and required servicing. You began to question whether you should keep the car at all, but you had already sunk so much money into it that you weren't sure what to do. The same can happen in relationships. You sink so much time and emotional capital into the relationship that you hesitate to walk away, even when you know it's going to bleed you dry, emotionally at least. Social messages. In my Nice Girls books, I talk about what it's like growing up female. We get so many messages that are different from those given to our brothers. Whether they are family messages, religious messages, media messages, or messages from teachers, we are bombarded with images that suggest we must be nice at all costs or no one will like us. Unfortunately, there's a kernel of truth in this. The predominant message is no longer, "You have to remain in your place," but rather, "You can be whatever you want, but you still have to behave like that nice little girl you were taught to be in childhood." Women must learn that the opposite of being nice is not nasty. The opposite of being nice is having a voice so that you can advocate for yourself and those you care about. Regardless of what keeps you in a toxic, abusive relationship, only you have the power to change the situation. It's folly to think that you will change the other person. If you repeatedly express your needs and desires and nothing changes, it's time to focus on what specific steps you're going to take to create the life you want and deserve.